Hey! Alright, so we are, I think, 10 days away from the magical readathon being done. I still have 4 books to read. And, but I have finished 5 of them. So I thought I'd do a little mid-readathon check-in since I'm at that 5 book mark. I'm going to be talking about the books that I have read, my thoughts on them, and yeah, let's get into it. So, the first book is Sad Gay Clown Energy by David Lagatuda Jr. It is about a struggling comic who finds viral success after an impromptu stand-up show that he does. And he tries to make that fleeting success more of a constant, more of a set thing. I did not like this book at all. I gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. At the end of the book, where it says like the about the author stuff, it said that this was David's like most personal book to date. Which for me is a yikes if it is, because it didn't feel personal at all. It felt like he just wrote it quick so that he could get a paycheck, if he did write it at all. There was one reviewer who said, he said that he is convinced that it was written by AI and no one can tell him otherwise. And I read that review and I was like, oh, that would make a lot of sense if it was. Which sucks. Why are you using AI to write a book? But the way that it was written throughout the whole book, I was like, this doesn't, like the dialogue doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like actual people talking. I honestly, I felt like I was reading the same chapter over and over again for like 10 chapters because it was just the same thing happening, the same phrases happening. I just felt like I was reading the same chapter over and over again, and it really wore on me. I struggled trying to finish this book, which is insane because it's like 100 pages, maybe. It was 100, 150, maybe. But it was a struggle. The book felt very superficial. It felt like it was trying to be deep and poignant and like have this like strong message, and it just wasn't hitting that message. And it felt very repetitive. Chapter 19 doesn't even feel like it was supposed to be in the book. It was like they took it from a different book with characters with the same name and just threw it in there, and then it would right back to the book I had been reading. It didn't make any sense. Every passage, every quote, every dialogue scene felt like he was trying to make it like a quotable, like a highly quotable book, and it just wasn't. It felt like I said, just very superficial. There was no depth. There was no feeling in it. The last couple of chapters had some like serious grammatical errors. It seemed like no one even like edited that. Like they didn't even look at that. They're just like, yeah, we need to just put this book out, and so we're not going to check the last part of it, and so we're just going to throw it in there and call it good. Overall, I would not recommend reading it. I'm going to be highly disappointed if it was written by AI. Yeah. The second book I read was A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. That is the summary of that is it is a letter written by Constanta about her time with her lord and the events that lead up to the eventual death of him. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was so well written. I enjoyed the letter aspect of it and getting her point of view. It really brought home the effect that her lord had on her. Seeing the good and bad sides of him through her perspective just shows how manipulative he was and how good he was at it. I enjoyed seeing the relationships with the other brides of his, and how they reacted to his manipulation and how he was. It was very easy to feel for these characters and to relate to them and to care for them. And it was, like I said, beautifully written. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah, definitely a good read if you haven't read it already. And I enjoyed the little nods to Dracula that were in there. They weren't they're kind of subtle with it, and there weren't a whole lot of them, so that was nice too. The third book I read was The Cave by Scott Dyson. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. It is about 4 boys who find a cave, and the cave is not all it seems, we'll say. This was an okay book. The whole time reading it, I was getting big It vibes, and I haven't read the book It, but I've seen the original movie with Tim Curry, and then I saw the two newer ones. And a lot of the same plot lines and tropes that are in It are also in this book. I don't know if he was inspired by It. It seems like he was. The big climactic scene was over really fast. The whole book was, I felt, just too fast. It was only, again, 150 pages. But I felt like with that type of plot and that type of storyline, delving more into the entity would have been good, and it didn't really do that. It was all from the perspective of the boy Stephen, and there were certain parts, how they described there was a girl that was with them. Her name was Gina, and how he was talking about Gina kind of gave me the ick a little bit. I understand in the book they're 13. And so that's kind of how their brains are at that point, but it was adult Stephen talking about his experience that he had when he was 13. So it just felt a little bit icky knowing that it was coming from an adult, even though he was talking about the past. It was weird, and it was probably just a me thing. I would have liked more from the entity, how it came to be and stuff, and I just felt it was over too fast, and it didn't give us a whole lot. It didn't give us a chance to really be terrified of the thing in the cave. So yeah, the ending wasn't as impactful as I thought it was going to be. But overall, it was an okay book. I probably wouldn't read it again, and I don't know if I would suggest it to other people, but, it's there. So, peruse at your own risk, I guess. And the fourth book was The Music of Dolphins by Karen Hesse. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It is about a girl who was raised by dolphins. She's found off of the coast of Florida, and there's these doctors, and they're like studying her and like trying to figure out like how she survived, and then like also teach her how to be a human. And along the way, they're thinking of what it means to be human, kind of gets contradicted a bit and gets questioned. I love this book. I read it when I was in elementary school. I thought it was so cool. I was definitely one of those girls who was obsessed with dolphins. So to be able to read about a girl who was raised by dolphins was like the dream for me. I think this is a good book for any age. It goes from it's very cool to see her learning the English language and like learning how humans operate and being like, well, that's so weird. Like, this is how the dolphins are, and why aren't humans like dolphins, and why are there all these rules and like all of these restrictions and things like that. You can definitely feel for Mila, who's the dolphin girl, and her kind of struggles to, on one hand, she's loving all of the things she's learning and loving being around people and watching them and seeing them interact with each other. But on the other hand, she's like, she just really wants to go back to her dolphin family. And she's missing them, and she's missing the simplicity of being with them. And it's a really good book. And if you get a chance, I highly suggest reading it. Because like I said, I think it's good for all ages. Alright, and the final book is Foxglove by Adeline Grace. I believe I gave this one 4 or 4.5 stars out of 5. It is the sequel to Belladonna. So it's continuing that story. And they introduce some new characters. You learn more about Signa and her abilities. They introduce the character Fate, who plays a big role in this book, and Blythe is also in this book a lot more, which was nice. Kind of seeing how she is recovering from almost dying, and like how she is doing now that she is getting better physically. So I really enjoyed this book. I liked seeing more of Signa kind of come into her own. I liked getting Blythe's perspective of things. Both women are very strong-willed and very, very strong and independent. And it's great. It was great to see their kind of relationship after everything that happened in Belladonna. I keep on thinking of the next book. And seeing how they interact and how quickly they became, connected to each other. The character Fate is definitely... So he's supposed to be, like, a bad guy, and then get it, but, like, there's just a character who's like, you're not even, like, you're so blinded by what you want and what you think and thinking that you are correct that you can't even comprehend that the world is not how you see it. That's Fate. I kind of suspected what was going on with Blythe to be what was going on with Blythe, if that makes sense. I don't want to give away spoilers. But yeah, and I will say that I suspected Byron from the start, and I'm still not totally convinced he didn't have a part in it. And I'll leave it at that. It's so difficult to talk about books that are like sequels to another book, or like in a series, because you're like, I don't want to give away too much if you haven't read any of it, but like, you gotta have something to talk about, Anyways, very good book. Cannot wait to read the next one, and I just have to find it now. So those are my reviews for the 5 books I've read so far for the Magical Readathon. I have 4 more to read. I am reading one right now, and I'm almost halfway done with it. It's got a lot of big words, so it's taking me a minute. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them. Tell me your favorite book so far that you've read of the magical readathon, or just in general if you're not doing the readathon. And like and subscribe if you want to see more of me. And I will see you all next time. Bye!